and welcome to Card Kingdom's weekly Legacy Tournament. I'm Josh Monks, and this week in the booth, I'm joined by Jordan Isaka. Jordan, how you doing today?
Doing great today, Josh.
I'm pretty hyped. So we're just found out we have 51 people here to play Legacy, which that's a really big number for a weekly hangout. Let's play Magic for 4 rounds tournament.
I gotta believe it's preparation for that Grand Prix that's coming up in about a month. So
speaking of Grand Prix, do you have your buys yet?
Oh man, I don't.
Oh, that's too bad. Because you know who does have their buys?
You played
this guy.
You played Modern for those buys. Unbelievable.
So good. 10-person tournament spiked to that. Now I don't have to play in any more tournaments. So we're getting set up for round 1 here. And round 1, we actually have a pretty good match. We have Greg Mitchell playing Shardless. He's a really big player in the Seattle area, huge Legacy player, also huge in Modern No Ban List.
That's right.
We ran a stream for Modern No Ban List tournament this weekend on Saturday, and Greg actually 4-0'd with completely new brew. It was really awesome. There are the VODs on Twitch. I'm sure you can find them. If you like Modern No Ban List or want to hear more about it, check out the VOD. Format's great. Format's really fun to watch. So he's playing Shardless today, and then on the other hand,
Adam Ruprecht, yeah, he's a well-known Magic player in the Seattle area. He plays a lot of different formats, but I gotta believe he's preparing for the Grand Prix this week and possibly in the next couple weeks.
Yeah. So do you know what he's playing?
I believe he's playing Miracles. I'm pretty excited to see him play it. He's a very, very strong Miracles player and probably one of the best ones in the Seattle area.
Absolutely. This is actually a really good matchup. This is one of the classic blue decks kind of battling it out, and Miracles just lets dig through time, but Shardless was never really a dig through time deck.
That's right.
So we're going to see how these decks turn out. I haven't actually seen a Miracles list now that dig through time has been banned.
Yeah.
I assume it's playing the new Jace, but I don't want to put any guarantees on that. I haven't actually seen the deck list.
Yeah, certainly it could be. There's a lot of implications as to what decks could be played. Also, what card choices could be made. Also, I know that Ruprecht is a big fan of playing Thopter's Sword combo inside of his Miracle decks.
Oh, is that kind of to replace Monastery Mentor, or is that in conjunction with Monastery
Mentor? That was actually before Monastery Mentor, and actually it was supposed to be playing that to be good against the other Miracle decks.
Okay, very cool. It seems very good against the Miracle decks. So we're getting down to the match here, and it looks like Adam on the right here, he's going to start out with a mulligan, and Greg's going to start at 16 life for some reason. So we'll get that adjusted for you guys.
I'm sure he's going to go ahead and get that adjusted when the game starts. Another note about Greg Mitchell, he actually won the last Star City Games Open that was in this area that was a Legacy tournament, and he won it with a Bug Delver deck. So he's certainly very familiar with the Bug pieces.
That was a little while ago, though.
That was.
We are saying that. We don't want you to think it's like a week ago. That was several months. I think it was almost a year ago.
Yeah, it was about a year ago. So, but certainly somebody who's very proficient at playing cards like Abrupt Decay and playing cards like Deathrite Shaman. So I'll be very excited to see what cards he brings to the table here.
I saw some Goyfs. I believe I saw Baby Jace as well, the new one. Jace Prince Prodigy. It also, that card seems very good in Miracles. You play it on your opponent's turn, you loot, trigger Miracle on top, and then it'll flip because the activation will finish resolving.
That's right.
Miracle will then get put on the stack. You'll be able to cast it, wrath your opponent's board while you have a Jace.
That's pretty insane. Yeah. The other thing about it is, Jace Prince Prodigy doesn't have a converted mana cost when it flips over. So it actually is going to be a pretty big target for a card like Abrupt Decay.
Yes.
So I'm pretty excited to see what happens in this matchup because I certainly haven't seen these cards. Oh, and he's not.
Oh, interesting. I must not have seen the Delvers and saw the other pieces, but it looks like he's actually not playing Shardless. He's on Bug Delver. Sorry, guys.
Which is a classic deck that Greg has played, many times in the past, and we're going to see a top for Adam Ruprecht. So
pretty solid start out of both of these decks. They're doing exactly what they want to do. Greg's playing a 3-2 on turn 1, and Adam's going to load the top cards of his library. I described these decks as decks that do both of that. So looking at these hands, it's a little hard to tell. But
it looks like he hit a Wasteland off the top.
So Adam does have a basic land, so that's not going to be able to get wasted. So I imagine Greg's just going to try and play a 2-drop here. It looks like Tarmogoyf.
Oh, Tarmogoyf, yeah. Obviously, the classic follow-up from Delver's Secrets is the next biggest body in the deck. So top deck for Adam Ruprecht. Was that a Daze? No, it's a Brainstorm.
I believe it's a Brainstorm.
Yes.
So I'm a little surprised that he didn't loot on upkeep. I don't see a counterbalance in his hand, and usually the only time that you don't want to activate top on your turn 2 upkeep is if you're about to drop a counterbalance.
That is correct.
But
another big tell for looking at Greg Mitchell's deck really quickly, you can actually see that he has a Bayou instead of a Tropical Island, and so that would actually flag him as playing a Hymn to Torok version of Shardless rather than a Stifle version. So
yeah, he definitely wants those double black spells. Do you think he's also got Liliana of the Veil potentially in there?
Yeah, most certainly. And I know that actually before Grimmack Angler was played, Greg Mitchell actually played
Tombstalker.
Yeah, Tombstalker, that's right.
So it looks like Adam actually did have a counterbalance. I didn't see in his hand, so now his line makes a lot more sense.
Oh, and there's the Hymn to Torok.
So him's going to flip over Insectile Aberration.
That's going to be pretty mean.
I believe the hymn's going to get fired off here, and then this Tarmogoyf's going to grow, because whatever dies grows the Largoyf.
That's true. And Adam's going to go ahead and pray for that 2-drop on top, right?
Yeah, let's see another counterbalance here.
Oh, no.
and it's a Force
of Will.
You want those in your hand.
Yeah,
but it looks like
you most certainly do.
Adam's going to pitch 2 here, and Greg's got to be happy about that resolving.
Yeah, because I mean, him to Turok plus the mulligan is going to be pretty hard, and he gets the Volcanic Island and the Brainstorm. The Brainstorm obviously being huge in the event that Adam would have a Terminus or anything like that.
Yeah, so that Lurgoyf, the Tarmogoyf, is going to be a 3/4. So Adam's getting attacked for 6 here, and we're going to see a Wasteland on that Tundra. So
just all the stops coming out.
Greg hitting that Volcanic is saying, you know what, maybe I'm going to be able to mana screw you here a little bit. Make you discard a land, I'm going to waste one of your lands, put you on 1.
Right.
And Adam's actually in a pretty weird spot here, simply because he has to decide on whether or not he wants to top and then play his fetch, or play his fetch and then top twice.
That's right. It's kind of interesting too because Greg is in a really interesting spot where all of his pressure's on the table, and I think his hand is only fetch lands. You know, there's not a lot of action not a lot of follow up for him here.
Yeah, he's really afraid of a Miracle Terminus here, but it looks like Adam does not have a Terminus. He's got a Swords of Plowshares.
That's right. And Adam also has a fetch land in hand too. So I'm gonna go ahead and believe that he's gonna go ahead and shuffle away some of the cards that he has on top.
Yeah, that looks like exactly what he's going to do.
He's going to fire off this plow ASAP. Can't afford to take any more damage from the Lurgoyf.
Yeah, he's got to be a little bit afraid of a Daze here.
That's right.
This is a huge time to play that.
Yeah, but I mean, at this point, right, you just can't take another swing because Delver's Secrets is just going to kill you, right?
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
if you do remove the Tarmogoyf on your next on tap step. So he's gonna fire it off here and
we're gonna see a sorcery speed.
Do a little praying.
I just hitting that Goyf.
Oh yeah.
Gain some life for Greg.
And then a possible stabilization, maybe.
Yeah.
For Rooks here. I gotta believe that a top deck Brainstorm is gonna get blown out by a plow. Oh, and a Daze on the top. That never want to have that happen.
Yeah, it's a turn late for that Daze.
Yeah, that's too bad, really.
And, Adam's getting attacked down to 8, but he's still at a three turn clock off that Delver,
That's
so he's
right.
got a pretty big window here to find an answer for it.
That's right.
And Greg doesn't have any other threats in his hand.
Ooh,
so
Brainstorm right now.
Adam really wants to get into his deck. I think he wants to get rid of the last card in his hand. I believe it's another top.
So. Oh, a double Terminus.
Oh, that's huge.
Oh my gosh. That is just absolutely unbelievable.
So Adam doesn't have another land though, so I imagine he's going to put these 2 Terminuses on top. And
yeah, that's right.
He's going to flip that top during Greg's probably beginning of combat step, potentially upkeep.
He does.
Oh, he does. I missed the land. It's really hard to tell the cards in his hand. I just can't
another
see.
top.
Oh, he's going to play a top though, so this is going to cause an issue where he's going to be tapped out.
That's right.
So this Daze is going to be active, and it looks like Adam's just going to take the swing here.
Adam masterfully playing around the Daze. Extremely good play here from Ruprecht, recognizing that Daze would potentially blow him out and deal quite a bit of damage to him.
So we're going to see an upkeep top, or end step top out of Adam here. I don't think he's setting up to draw Terminus right now. Looks like he actually is. He is.
That was a fantastic play. Unbelievable mastery from Adam.
Really good idea to wait. He knows that Bug Delver doesn't really have the ability to kill you unless they have board control.
That's right.
So he's okay taking one more hit. Something like a Blue-Red Delver, a Grixis Delver still has bolts in their deck and can turn on damage that way.
That's right. But what's kind of cool about it is that Adam Ruprecht's position shows that he's got double top too, so he can actually shuffle away one of his tops too.
If he needs to, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, and there's the 2. Uh-oh.
I imagine that's going to be game here.
Here comes the noose, and Adam Ruprecht is at a healthy 5 life. Right? Top decks the Snapcaster Mage. Didn't even try the shenanigans.
Yeah, who needs to? I mean, that's the card you want in your hand, right?
That's
that card's so powerful here.
That's right.
We're going to see an end step top here out of Adam. And this game is pretty much locked up.
You
Greg
know,
really needed an Abrupt Decay earlier for that counterbalance.
He does. And I think that he actually probably should have held his Tarmogoyf until he drew into an Abrupt Decay.
Absolutely.
But
it's a little greedy to say, I bet my opponent doesn't have a 2 on top or a counter spell.
Right. Or even like being able to find a removal spell for that matter too. So it looks like, Roops is just content with filling his hand full of cards, and there's a fetch land.
Yeah, he's not under any pressure here at all, so he's just going to keep on building up his board state. Greg draws a Sylvan Library here, but I don't imagine it's going to resolve through that counterbalance.
Yeah, there's actually another counterbalance on top too, so Rupert pretty content with just leaving it on top.
Yeah, he's probably just going to float a 2 here and a 1 for as long as he can.
Yeah,
He's got 2 tops in play, so he doesn't actually need to worry about floating a 1. He can always flip 1 and still have the other one active.
That's 100% correct. And the other issue, too, is that he's actually has a replacement counterbalance. So if Greg Mitchell does find the decay, he can just go ahead and follow it up.
He'll have 1 turn of not having a counterbalance in play, but I don't imagine it'll be too bad, simply because Adam also has a Terminus in the wings as well.
Yeah, that's true. Right. And
We'll see a waste on that Tundra here. Wasting is a little bit less relevant now than it was before, but I think you still have to fire him off. I look at Wasteland as a spell that You cast for 0 mana as one of your land drops.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
And I feel like a lot of people misplay with their Wastelands. You always want to fire it off ASAP, especially if you're playing these days-oriented decks, simply because you need your opponent to be on less mana for these cards to get better.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, every time you Wasteland your opponent, your day certainly gets a lot better. And the other issue is that, right now, Wasteland, the only thing it really does is minimizes the amount of spells that Adam can cast in a turn.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
One less Angel off of an entreat, things like that.
Or maybe Adam will try to get greedy and go for a large entreat, which he'll never do,
Yeah, you only want to go for entreats for 2, potentially 3 at the most in these kind of matchups. I believe that's a Mentor. Yeah, it looks like that's the card he's going to draw for the turn here.
Boy. Do we have a treat for you guys today? Monastery Mentor.
Not that much of a treat. It's pretty normal nowadays in Miracles. So.
I think I'm excited to see it. I mean, maybe
Treat's
you guys,
a little ambitious.
Yeah, maybe you guys aren't that excited, but I'm excited to see it.
Greg's going to force this. Adam does not have a force on top, so he's going to say, that's fine. I don't actually really care about having a threat.
Yeah, I think he's quite content to just let the force go away. And also, when Greg fired off that Wasteland, he lost that last side out and be able to hardcast Force of Will.
Absolutely.
Right? So certainly he doesn't have that extra days, that extra card pressure that he could have.
What's actually pretty funny, though, is that if Adam had topped there and then fetched, in response to the fetch, Greg could have dazed.
That's right. That's right, and that would have actually got him down pretty bad. That's a pretty bad burn.
So Greg's in the tank here. Looks like he's got some more Delvers in play, but Delvers are effectively dead at this point in the game. You just can't resolve them through countertop.
That's right.
We're going to see a Sylvan Library
He's going for it. Library is a pretty good card right here. I mean, Greg at a healthy, I got to believe he's like 18 or 19 life.
And so Adam's going to flip top here, and then it looks like he's going to...
Spell Snare?
Brainstorm. So it looks like he wants to set a 2 on top. I imagine he could have just fetched and found something, but looks like he wants to hold on to that fetch.
I think he's using his Brainstorms to the maximum advantage he can, right? Like trying to set cards on top, like Snapcaster Mage is going to be the one that shows up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, man. And
Greg already knew about that Snapcaster Mage in hand, so when
right.
he saw the Brainstorm, he knew it was going to solve.
It's kind of interesting, though. I think Greg could have actually played Daze there to force him to crack the fetch.
Oh, this is actually a really intelligent line. So Greg sees that Adam only has a fetch up, and he's going to force him to flip that.
Right.
Top.
And Greg's doing what's called converted mana cost weaving, where he's trying to get 2s and 1s down, right? But the other issue is that, Greg's facing a Snapcaster Mage in hand, and I don't really know how he's going to beat it.
Yeah, that's... Termaglyph's just going to get Swords or Terminus right away. And
yeah.
The problem with doing these weaving lines is that Greg just spent 3 cards there, a Sylvan Library, a Deathrite, and a Termaglyph just to resolve the Termaglyph. Right. That's a lot of resources for a creature that's very easy to answer.
Right.
If I was Greg there, I actually would have done it in the other order and forced through that Sylvan Library instead.
That's right. That's right. I agree with you, too, because now Tarmogoyf is actually very vulnerable. You can see similar lines work like this when you're resolving a card like Nimble Mongoose, but a lot of times, the last card that ends up on top is just Sensei's Divining Top, so it's kind of tough. Absolutely. And I gotta believe here it comes. Here comes the Snapcaster Mage. And I think Greg's gonna be packing it up after this.
Yeah, Greg's, I believe he's got 2 cards in hand left.
I think the reason why Adam was a little hesitant on casting that was because he was like, hey, I have these. He almost gave Greg kind of a lot of respect there.
Yeah, he was a little afraid Greg might have a sweet line that Adam was walking into. But...
That's right. I really do like your line, though. I think that I certainly would have considered resolving the library over the Goyf. I think at this point, Greg was actually just trying to go for the win right there.
Yeah. The thing about Miracles, though, is they don't press your life total at all.
They
so you can turn these Sylvan Libraries into Ancestral Recall.
You're absolutely correct.
Very easily.
You're absolutely correct.
So there's an entreat on top, and that's a top, not a hidden treat. I saw that too. I saw that at the exact same time.
Because you see like the top cutaway of the top, and it looks like the angels that are flying around.
Absolutely, but Adam's going to draw a Force of Will for the turn, so he wants a little bit more interaction in case Greg does something scary.
Right, and here comes Snapcaster Mage, right? Like 10-turn clock, sure.
Still a clock.
Still a clock.
Greg's probably really wishing he had that
Sylvan Library, yeah.
Pre-board, Miracles just doesn't have a good way to answer it either.
It really doesn't.
They have to answer it on the stack. There's no Wear Tear main deck.
That's right. That is absolutely right. They think the only way they can answer it is with the Council's Judgment, right?
Yeah.
And Greg really looking for a card like, Liliana, or I guess a combination of cards, right? He needs Decay and Liliana, or Decay and, his Sylvan Library would have been great with the Decay, right?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive that he has not drawn a Rep Decay this entire game.
Yeah.
I imagine you play 4 when you're playing Bug Delver. There's no reason not to.
That was actually one of the big issues that I was considering when you're looking at two mana removal. Abrupt Decay is actually very good at what it does, but the other issue is that it does cost 2 mana. You can kill any target you want inside the threshold of 3, but at the same time, if you do get taxed by a card like Thalia, 3 mana for removal spell is actually not that good in Legacy.
Especially sorcery speed. That's huge cost in this format.
I was talking about Abrupt Decay.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought you
Yeah.
said 3 mana. I thought you were talking about Cost's Judgment there.
Yeah, I was actually talking about Abrupt Decay as perhaps a hindrance because it's 2 mana off the cuff, right? And I mean, like, this is just me being very nitpicky about the cost of my spells, but 2 mana versus 1 mana, it's 100% more.
Yeah.
Right.
Double.
Oh,
We're going to see a Liliana here, and the
Right.
only 3s in Miracles are Council's Judgment and Entreat the Angels. Adam does have a Force Will that I imagine he's just going to hardcast here.
Yeah, I think he's just going to hard it. Or I guess also his Monastery Mentor.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That I guess he plays over Entreat the Angels, which would make a lot of sense.
I've actually started to not like Entreat the Angels very much in Miracles. I
Really?
feel like it's a very clunky card. Whenever you draw it, you're like, oh god, how do I get this out of my hand? If
That's
you don't have
right.
a Brainstorm there, it's just
Yeah.
going to sit there clunking around.
Yeah, pretty. Oh, there's Jason the Mind Sculptor, and I mean,
I imagine this is going to be pretty much the nail on the coffin
Yeah.
here. I don't really see Greg getting out of this lock.
and I think the other issue is that Adam
another Lily
Rupert
off
did
the
not
top.
did not commit Jason Mind Sculptor to the table there, and
A little strange that he didn't. I think he might have been trying to bluff that he had another Force of Will, but he doesn't have another Force of Will, so
Perhaps.
he's really trying to find a 3-drop on top to counter that with his counterbalance.
Right.
That Lily off the top is a really big deal for Greg.
Yeah, and he actually has a handful of cards too. So if he can catch Adam in a very bizarre spot, or a spot where Adam's going to burn a few resources here, he might actually be in good shape.
Yeah, absolutely. He really needs to find an Abrupt Decay before he can do anything, though.
Yeah, he really does. That's a huge hindrance. And another thing that's interesting about playing against Miracles in general is you actually do need a lot of lands in play. And the reason why is because when I call it the showdown, when you do showdown with your opponent playing Miracles, it's important that you're able to cast a lot of spells, kind of like how Greg tried to weave that Tarmogoyf into play. He's going to need to cast a bunch of spells on the back of his Liliana.
Absolutely.
Right. But it's also kind of strange because I think what Greg's doing right now with this Liliana is he's trying to make it so Adam burns through a lot of his Adam burns through a lot of his resources.
So in response to this Liliana, Adam's going to flash in a Snapcaster,
That's
flashback
right.
Brainstorm. I imagine he's got a 3-drop in his hand. He's going to set up on top.
Can't be too pleased by that.
Yeah, it's a very easy way to generate value after counterbalance.
Yes. And I guess he doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't have one.
He would have been
Interesting.
quick to flip, but there's just a counter spell that gets
Okay.
fired off.
Looks like he saw Counterspell off the top and wanted to draw that. He's
Yeah.
out there.
Also pretty good.
So Greg's going to pass a turn back, but now Adam's got 2 Snapcaster Mages, and this clock just got doubled.
Right. Kind of interesting to see what cards Greg can bring in from the sideboard, because actually, Bug Delver has a pretty wide range of answers to Miracles.
Yeah, there's quite a few different ways to attack it.
Cards like Golgari Charm could certainly be very good here.
Yeah, destroying enchantments is very relevant.
And also randomly giving, if you were to give all your opponents monk tokens -1/-1, that could be very powerful too.
It's a little greedy just because if your opponent has to play
Oh,
Tombstalker.
yeah. Oh,
So
there
we're
it
gonna
is.
see a Tombstalker
There
here.
it is.
How much Tombstalker cost? Is it 8?
It's 8 mana.
Okay, so Dig Through Time is banned, so
Right.
he knows that Adam's not going to be able to flip any 8s here.
Oh, snap.
However, there's still another Snapcaster in Adam's hand, and now there's a Counterspell in Adam's graveyard, so he's just going to go ahead and Counterspell that bad boy.
3 Snapcaster Mages from Adam Ruprecht, Certainly a good draw, but
He's had so much time to sculpt, though.
that's right. And I'm also kind of interested to see the actual structure of Adam's deck as well. He's actually going, Greg's just going through the motions right there, but 3 Snapcaster Mages. All right, and so we see that game wrap up relatively in short order after Adam was able to gain control at a stable 5 life. And the reason why I say that is because if Greg was playing Rug Delver, the closer he gets towards that bolt range, the more dangerous it is for him to resolve spells. You talk about weaving spells versus Tarmogoyf and versus Sylvan Library, but think if Greg was weaving a lightning bolt in there instead. He could actually have snapped out the lightning bolt in response to the top flip, and then Adam wouldn't have just died. And so it's kind of interesting because even though Bug Delver has a more stable and a better mid game, it actually has a worse late game because it doesn't have that reach.
Yeah, it's really got to find a way to finish the game. A lot of the ways that it finishes the game is by attacking the Tarmogoyfs, which
That's
can
right.
sometimes get roadblocked very easily.
Yeah, that's right.
Legacy is a format that creatures are not as powerful as they are in other formats compared to the spells, so
That's right.
sometimes these finishers just get outclassed in Bug Delver.
Unless you're playing Sun Titan.
Yes.
Then you're just
Sun
playing,
Titan is certainly a creature.
then you're just playing the biggest creature. He also blocks.
He does block. He attacks and he blocks. He brings back standstills. What more do you want? Brings back counterbalances.
I
Brings
was
back
using
tops.
him to bring back Trinim Nemesis at one
Ooh,
point. That
that's
felt
spicy.
that was pretty good. It wasn't bad.
That's one of the better things to bring back.
Yeah, I think Trinim Nemesis is just better than he is though.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably true.
Yeah. Anyways, so looking at this looking at the dig through time ban, it's kind of interesting because I believe that Greg was pretty excited to play Bug Delver again. Maybe he didn't want to play Bug Delver into another dig through time deck. But Miracles, it kind of looks like Miracles didn't really lose a beat on what it likes to do.
Yeah, losing dig through time definitely made the deck a little bit worse.
Yes.
But the deck wasn't a linchpin. It didn't require dig through time.
It really didn't. It really didn't. I mean, I guess when you dig through time and find Brainstorm Terminus, like you're in pretty good shape, right? Like, essentially tutor any 2 cards that you want.
Absolutely. That's what it was for them. It was also a good way to reset their top. If they don't have fetch land in play, and they know what the top 3 cards are, they can get rid of those very easily with dig. A lot of the cards in Miracles are relatively redundant.
That's
they
right.
have top, they have counterbalance, they have counter spells, they've got creature
Snapcaster
removals.
Mage, right, exactly. The Snapcaster Mage just does double duty of blocking for Jace or attacking for the win.
Absolutely.
We saw there.
I've been playing Miracles in Modern No Ban List, and my actual win conditions, I had 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, 3 Snapcaster Mage, and 3 Vendilion Click.
Yeah.
And those were actually the only ways I could kill my opponent.
Yes.
Besides that, it was just trying to set up a lock.
Yeah, Vendilion Click, of course, an all-star in Legacy. Extremely good versus a lot of different decks, and probably my favorite card to cast.
Yeah, it's really good during your opponent's draw step. It's really good versus their end step. It's really good main phase to force something else through. There's so many different things it can do.
That's right. And it's always nice because when you play it, it's kind of like Ataxian Pro, but instant speed.
Absolutely.
Kind of interesting. I actually was watching Greg's sideboard. It looks like he took out Daze when he's on the play. So I think Greg kind of content to slow down and play a little bit more of a mid-rangey game.
Yeah, he's saying, I don't really care about you going turn 1 top, turn 2 counterbalance.
That's right.
I have Abrupt Decay, so I'm not too worried about you attacking me on that axis. And as the game progresses, Miracles is a deck that wants to play a lot of lands, and so Daze becomes a lot less prohibitive than it does against other decks.
That's right.
And Miracles also has a lot of basics, so the Wasteland isn't as effective, and when Wasteland's not as effective, all the cards that require Wasteland to be good aren't as effective.
Right.
So you see this kind of cascading effect, and a lot of people do like boarding out Daze in this matchup.
I would certainly agree. Obviously, if I'm playing Rug Delver, that mode kind of changes a little bit, because Rug Delver is more of an aggro deck, whereas Bug Delver is more of a mid-range deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Deathrite Shaman promotes a very mid-range strategy.
Absolutely, yeah. And also cards like, you saw cards like Tombstalker and Liliana, and I think that Deathrite Shaman is kind of, Delver of Secrets in this deck is kind of more of like a hood ornament.
Yeah.
It's like, sometimes you can just get this aggro start.
I may as well put this 3-2 for 1 in my deck, simply because I don't have any other better 1-mana spells.
That's right.
So Greg's going to start it off here. Looks like he's got a couple fetches in play.
Yeah.
Adam boarded in some Rest in Pieces, which is very common in these matchups. Really good against Bug Delver. They have Deathrights, they have Tarmogoyfs, they have Tombstalkers.
That's
it really
right.
shuts down all these cards.
That's right. Interesting. Adam actually going to go ahead and take his second mulligan of the game of the match.
Yeah, he really wants to scry, I think, is what it's coming down to.
And the other issue is that I think Adam's last hand actually was a lot of counter magic and not a lot of action. He didn't have a top, he didn't really have a counterbalance either. So
yeah, the deck, you usually want to keep a hand that either has top or ways to find top. Like if you have Brainstorm, Fetch, Ponder, you're like, yeah, I can keep this pretty safely simply because the deck
can
you
find
just
that.
You just
find
it.
That's right. And I think he actually drew one. I think he boarded in like 1 Red Elemental Blast, and he drew it, and it's simply not very good in the early game. It's only good against Delver.
Yeah, it doesn't kill Deathrite. It doesn't interact with Hymn to Torok. Doesn't interact with Thoughtseize. Doesn't interact with Liliana.
I really like Spell Pierce in Miracles right now, but I'm certainly no Miracles expert. You'd certainly have to defer to a guy like Adam or Sean Yu as well.
Absolutely, those guys are Miracles players. So Adam does have a hand with a turn 1 top, but Greg has a Spell Pierce for it, so he's going to go ahead and Spell Pierce that top. And Adam has a Force Will, but it doesn't look like he's got another blue card.
Yeah,
so
certainly.
That's going to result. Adam does have a Blood Moon in his hand. Which is
he does?
Yeah, very powerful answer for Bug Delver.
Yeah, I was actually considering that would be a really good card to play. Oh my gosh, and a turn 2 Hymn to Torok, just brutally ripping through Adam's hand. Hymn to Torok and Spell Pierce stopping the top for the consistent draws. The interesting thing though is last time, we saw Hymn to Torok, we saw this, oh boy, that was brutal.
So Adam has a Swords to Plowshares,
that was brutal.
A Blood Moon, and a Force Will. Those are 3 different colored cards, and he's nowhere near casting any of them.
Oh?
He draws a fetch land off the top.
But thing to note, it's he actually drew the red-blue fetch, right?
Which so he has to get a Tundra here if he wants the swords, which means it'll get eaten up by Blood Moon.
That's right.
And Greg's going to Brainstorm here. Greg's in really good control of this game. He's already gotten Abrupt Decay in case a counterbalance or Blood Moon comes down.
Right. It's actually kind of interesting, Blood Moon is a card that I really thought that a lot of Miracles players were going to have, and it's extremely oh boy, and another Hymn to Torok.
Adam's getting his hand ripped apart here. He's got to be unhappy with this one.
Yeah, there's just nothing he can do about it too. He doesn't have Spell Pierce.
Getting 2 for 1 early is so bad for Miracles to deal with, simply because they need cards in hand to play their threats.
Oh, he lost the Blood Moon.
So Adam's hand is Swords to Plowshares right now, versus Greg's like Abrupt Decay, Force of Will. I think he's got another Spell Pierce.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got a threat though.
Oh, and a Pyroblast. Well, to be honest, Adam is going to have a really good reactionary hand, assuming that, oh, it's Xenoblasted. Adam has a really good reactionary hand, assuming that he can resolve some of his spells here.
Yeah, he really needs to he needs to draw some threats and then play those threats, which also requires him to draw lands and hope that they resolve. So there's a couple things that have to go very right for Adam to win here.
Yeah, oh my gosh. And do you see this? Nolrod, Japanese. Can you read that?
Nolrado.
No.
I don't know.
Do you know what it does?
Yeah, I do actually. It stops activated. Yeah.
Sorry. And Adam Rupert has actually drawn Sensei's Divining Top, and Adam is just drawing all the cards in the wrong order. Mm-hmm. That's right, Shaman. And did Greg Mitchell just fist bump? Did he just fist bump?
Greg's got to be happy. Adam probably is like, "Yep, drew a top. Nice little rod there."
Yeah, really. You know what? I think this is the only time when Adam would really like to have a plateau.
Yeah.
I think so.
Plateau's one of those cards that it's nice sometimes, but God, you draw in your opener, you're like, this is basically a mold of 6. Why am I playing this card again?
I'm actually a huge supporter of the card Plateau. Mm-hmm. And in fact, for this exact reason.
What about Sacred Foundry?
Not as much. But I do like Plateau. I think Plateau is a great card.
Which art do you like more in Plateau?
Plateau?
That's the real question, because there's 2 of them.
I like the new one.
The new one?
Yeah.
Okay.
I like the revised art, and that's kind of wonky.
Is that the one with the soldier on it?
It is.
Okay, because that's my favorite one.
Looking over the plateau, because the other one just looks like a bunch of rocks.
Yeah, I can't tell that one and Scrubland apart. I also can't really tell Savannah and Scrubland apart if I'm looking at them from far away.
Both